Hi guys and welcome back to my channel, and in today's episode we are going to again build something for the barnyard animal, and in today's video we will be doing the habitat for the Highland cattle and of course also some free roaming chicken. If you haven't seen the last episode, go ahead and check that out if you want to see how I built the red barn that you can see right now. And then you can of course come back to see how I did the Highland cattle habitat. So let's get started. So if you haven't seen the latest episode, which was for my very first habitat for the barnyard animals, which were the donkeys, goats and some free roaming chicken, there we started basically the whole petting zoo area, and this was the very first habitat. And the Highland cattle that we are building for right now is right next to the other animals, and they will share a barn. Of course they will have their own little separate holding pens inside the barn, but they will share the barn itself. So if you want to see how I did the barn, how I built it, you can definitely check out the first video right now, or maybe after you watch this one. And of course, as I said in the last video, I will be uploading the whole habitat, or I already have done it. So if you want to see the habitat and the whole barn up close in your own game, you can download it on the Steam Workshop. There it will be blueprinted, and you will only need to adjust the barriers for the animals and of course place down some of the animals that you like to have in this barn. And since I already did the whole interior of the barn also for the Highland cattle side in the last episode, you won't really see me do anything for the barn itself, and you will only see me do the outside habitat in the little holding pens in the outside area. So the video is also relatively short compared to my other videos, or at least it is a little bit shorter, simply because we are building way less than I normally do in my videos. So I could also slow down the pace of the video. So definitely let me know if you like the pace of this one more, or if it is even noticeable between my videos. So definitely let me know so I can adjust it to your likings. So if this is the very first video that you see of this series or of the petting zoo itself, I will do a little rewind for you. So basically the zoo that I'm building in is my current biggest project. It is a big city zoo, and since the Barnyard pack came out, I definitely had to start working on the Barnyard animal pack and to start on the petting zoo area. So basically this area will be extremely kid friendly, because I think that people spend a lot of time with their kids in petting zoo areas, so I want to make sure that it's really kid friendly, and it will be pretty close to the entrance area, and of course there will all be the whole Barnyard animal pack animals. And I currently plan to finish this area in around 6 to 7 weeks total. So we are currently in week 2. So there will be some more habitats and also other things like a little restaurant, a playground and stuff like that to add in. And then in about 6 weeks from now, 5 to 6 weeks from now, I hope to finish the whole petting zoo area. And then I will do a whole live walkthrough of this whole area. And maybe I will try to upload it to the workshop, but I am not quite sure if I can even do so. But I will let you know once we are at the point where I can call the whole petting zoo area finished. So for the Highland cattle, I wanted to do a little bit different than for the donkeys and goats. Since the donkeys and goats have a walk-through area, and since the hoofs of the goats would compact the earth a lot, the habitat is pretty earthy. So it is not a lot of greenery in there, not really lush, and I wanted to make it a little bit different for the Highland cattle and definitely make it more green and lush. It will also not be a walk-through habitat, just simply because I feel like the Highland cattle is maybe not the best option to make it a walk-through habitat. Of course, you can definitely do so if you want to, but personally I think that other animals are better to be like walk through padding habitat. So yeah, I decided to not make it for those, but you of course can pet the Highland cattle if it comes up to the fence. Since the guests cannot really walk around their whole habitat, I decided to make this relatively big chunky like barn fence in the front, where the guest is also able to come up to the barrier of the habitat and to see and to pet the animal. And then I decided to make this little like stone wall in the back that we already got from the Barnyard animal pack. I downloaded a blueprint from someone who made the effort to delete all of the little extra items that were in the blueprint that Planet Zoo gave us, because honestly I was a little bit too lazy to do it on my own, and since someone already did the job and uploaded on the Steam workshop, I thought why not just download it and support someone on the workshop. So definitely go ahead and check that out. If you want to use the same fence, you can definitely download it on the Steam workshop without any of the foliage and other pieces around it, so you can customize it the way you want to. And I basically re-added some foliage, but in my own style, and I also tried to make the stone wall look a little bit mossy and like overgrown, so I just did it in my own style and I feel like it came out really nicely. And I thought, of course, since I'm building something for the Barnyard animals, I also need to try and use as many things from the Barnyard pack itself to kind of represent the whole DLC, you know? So I always try to use a lot of these pieces, and since the stone wall is not really a piece itself, but it is in a blueprint, and yeah, so I still try to reincorporate that, so yes, you still have the connection basically to the DLC. And after I basically laid out the whole layout for the habitat itself, so basically the barriers, the little like water feature that I did, and then of course the holding pens, it came to the decorating part basically. And I knew that I wanted to make it more green and lush than compared to the donkey and goat habitat. And since it is the Highland cattle, I also tried to find some inspiration of like a Highland biome or like a hiking track. A lot of the things that I did actually came from the picture that I saw from this like Highland track, and also like a picture from somewhere, I don't know exactly where it was, but it was like on a mountain where it was also really green, and then there was also this little, not really a river, much more like this little stream, almost like I did in this habitat. And I thought it looked really nice with like the whole like forest in the background, and then it was like really lush and grassy around there, and then around the little water stream or like mini river that there was, it was a little more rocky. There were a lot of pebbles, so I kind of tried to recreate it since I thought it looked really nice with the Highland cattle. On the picture itself there was also some sort of cow. I couldn't really see it because the picture was taken from really far away, so I couldn't really see what type of cow it is, but I just thought it looked really nice, so I tried to kind of recreate it in like a mini version within this habitat. So I, as I said, did this little stream also with this little water feature that you saw me build a little bit earlier, where the water would get in and out of the little stream if it would get too full, or like to lower the water so they could refill the water a little bit. And then I tried to make it relatively green in the front, And then in the back you can see me later do it a little bit more rocky, not really that rocky, because the traversable area of the Highland cattle is not like super great, where they can walk over a lot of rocks and stuff like that. Of course it is somewhat understandable, because normally a cow probably wouldn't walk over a too rocky of a ground. So yeah, I tried to keep it relatively minimal so that the cow could still walk around there, but to give the illusion that in the front it is like sort of like a grassland, and then in the back it gets a little more rocky and like more mountain like, if you could say so. So I did this little islands of foliage and then more pebbles, and then not as many green grasses as you see me do in the front, but you will see this a little later on in this video. And I also did a little custom feeder for the cows. I remember this style of feeder when I actually was at like a kids party myself. It was of course some years ago, and they had horses, a lot of horses, so we were basically riding horses on this birthday, and they also had this round feeder where they put down hay in the middle, and it was like a little bit separated so that the horses could not like reach everything of it or like walk over it or something like that. So they had this like little barrier where it would be enough for them to stick their heads through the poles to reach the hay, but only for the heads basically. So I remember this one, and I thought that would also be really great for the cows. Because so they can't really destroy the bale of hay, but it is just enough so that they can feed on it without like putting hay all over the habitat. So I did that. It was really simple with just the concrete base, then the hay of course, and then I use wooden logs for the barrier. I later did remove the wooden logs and replace them with these rusty metal poles that we have. I thought maybe wood wouldn't look too great after quite some time if it would be like really often used. So the cows obviously would reach the wood and probably rub on it too, and it would be like a much used item for them then, since this is the feeder for them, and since it will also be outside if it rains, so I thought rusty metal would just fit really nicely. So I did change that off camera later, but it basically is the same feeder. And yeah, to kind of hide the edges of the concrete and to make it look a little more used and dirty, I of course used some decals to kind of hide the edges and make it look a little more cohesive with the ground all around it, so it doesn't look like too disconnected. I later also thought about putting a roof on top of it, so that if it rains that the hay would still be like dry and wouldn't get too wet and like dirty and stuff like that. But then I was also looking at inspirations from other cow feeders, because when I put down the roof it just looked a little bit weird, and I was looking at cow feeders online and they looked different than the one that I built, but it was basically the same idea where they can put down this one ball and they can reach it, but they all didn't have any kind of roofs. And obviously it makes sense, you wouldn't be able to put down the huge ball of hay in there if there would be a roof, because you need to somehow lift it like over it and then put it down with probably like a tractor or something. So then I later also removed the roof. I don't really know how I feel about moist or wet hay, but since all of the inspiration that I saw was also basically just a round thing kind of holding this ball of hay, I thought, yeah, it's just the way it's designed, and it seems like it's working, this idea, so I just used it like that. And then for the grassy area that you see, I also try to use a lot of different grasses. As you've already might be seen, I use a lot of the very green grass and then the like semi-dried grass. I'm not quite sure how it is called, but it's just this like yellowish green color, not the like completely brown yellow grass, but the one in between basically. And then I also use other different grasses to kind of make a little bit of a contrast and to make it look a bit different. You can see me this little bit longer grass using, especially in the cracks of like the rocks that I have, and especially around the water feature. I just felt that this type of grass looked very nice in there. Then I also use this one grass, I don't remember the name right now, from the conservation pack, and I also implemented a few of those, and of course also a few flowers to just make it look like a really nice cozy grassland for the cows. Then I also decided to do a little bit of decoration around the habitat. So basically, when the last time I was in the zoo, I actually was in the Burger Zoo in the Netherlands, and it was really great. I also took a lot of inspirational pictures and videos, and I also was thinking about doing a little like get some inspiration from the Burger Zoo video, where I would show you my pictures and videos that I took for you to take inspiration from, and to show you what things I was looking for and how certain things are built. For example, aviaries, different kind of barriers, fences, then also things like decorations around the habitats, similar to the one that I'm doing right now. Because when I was there, I noticed that every time there's like some sort of plant bed near a path, that the plant bed is always, or was mostly always, like a little bit raised. So there was like this little barrier. Sometimes it was like little concrete things, sometimes it was wood, so different sort of pieces, but they were basically all a little bit raised. So I tried to kind of recreate it, because I thought maybe if zoos do it like this, I can definitely do it too. So I decided to make this little raised thing, or not, it's not really like a plant bed. I don't quite know how the area behind this one will look, so I kept it really basically pretty small, just to have a little bit of decoration around the path. And so basically, since the habitat is basically more on the like lower side of this area, so it will basically, the ground is raising a little bit, like away from the barn, so it is like a little bit higher there. So yeah, I just felt like it would fit there, and I thought concrete was maybe not the best, because it's all like really natural materials in this area. So I decided to use these tiny wooden logs that are actually from the Habitat tab. So these are the normal climbing pieces that you use. So I decided to use these to make like a little barrier, to have a raised plant bed behind there. And then I just started decorating it a little bit with some bushes, trees, and some smaller plants. I didn't use any grasses, because that was another thing that I noticed in the Burger Zoo, that in these plant beds are not any grass. They are basically all just soil and a lot of mulch. Sadly, we don't really have like nice looking mulch in the game. It's basically just looks like soil and not these like wooden pieces in there. So that would be great too, but we don't have those, so I just used soil and then tried to cover it mostly without using the buffalo grass that I normally use. And I feel like it still looks pretty decent. I am not entirely happy with it, but I will definitely work on it. And we are almost at the very end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider to leave a like to support me a little bit, and definitely let me know in the comments what you think, how this habitat turned out. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any videos that are about to come, especially the new Barnyard animal pack habitats and how I will finish the whole petting zoo area. I hope to see you in the next episode. Until then, bye guys!